age like myself. Joining us right now is our fantasy sports guys, Bob and Jonathan Benson. Before we get into your segment, guys, your thoughts about the passing of Gary Carter?
Yeah, well, sad day. Everything I heard about Gary Carter was not only was he an outstanding player, but a great person who had a lot of fun playing the game.
Yeah. Today's Fantasy Baseball segment brought to you by the FantasyBaseballDugout.com. Go to FantasyBaseballDugout.com. Check out the hot new video of Sports Illustrated supermodel Kate Upton, and also Jay Bruce, David Price, and C.J. Wilson. And going to be a great season. Baseball, pitchers and catchers. We talked to the National Baseball Hall of Fame. They're excited. Pitchers and catchers coming into camps now, huh?
Always a good time of the year, especially if you live in the north, right?
Yeah, definitely. And we're having, if this is global warming, I'm enjoying global warming right now. Okay, guys, where do you want to go? What do you want to talk about here? By the way, according to, let me get my Access Hollywood.com poll, 49% think Kate Upton was hot in the cover issue of Sports Illustrated. 51% says she's not. Where is your standing, guys? Where's your vote? Is she hot or is she not?
Oh my gosh, who took that poll?
That was on AccessHollywood.com.
Huh.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I've seen on the internet that there are better pictures of Kate Upton if I had to pick other pictures, but there's no. I don't think there's such a thing as a bad picture of Kate Upton.
Yeah,
well, if you watch the video that we have, which is the new MLB 2K12 game promotional video, just take a look at the face of Justin Verlander, and maybe he can say it all for you.
Bob and Jonathan Benson in the house here talking fantasy sports, talking fantasy baseball here on Spadora on Sports. Yeah, she's got a new phone app out, which basically we let our listeners know there's about 19 pages of photographs on that too. So you can get enough of Kate Upton by going to various sites. Okay, guys, what do you want to talk about first? I mean, do we want to get into what we were carrying on, looking at the catchers right now, top 25 catchers?
Yeah, well, I think certainly that's a fair place to start, as we had just recently talked about the Hall of Fame catcher Gary Carter, and in fantasy baseball circles for the last several years, and Bob and I have been in agreement on this, that there was no question that the consensus number one catcher for several years on end has been Joe Mauer. Well, last year Joe Mauer hit no home runs, or hit very few home runs. Had a great batting average, but a lot of young catchers have come up in the league the last couple of years and have really developed into, power hitters, and they're contributing in more statistics than just batting average. And so Joe Mauer's reign as the number one catcher in fantasy baseball coming into 2012 has come to an end. And the number one fantasy baseball catcher, a lot of people are going to be familiar with the name, but maybe not so much with the player, is Indians catcher Carlos Santana.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Number one.
Yeah. So we have him at number one, and there's a lot of youth at the top of that list. You have breakout stars from last year like Tigers catcher Alex Avila. We have Matt Whiters, who had quite an internet following as he was working his way up through the minors. He's in our top 5 for 2012. So the takeaway at catcher is that there's a lot of youth at the top, and these guys are putting the ball in the seats. They learned a thing or two from watching Mike Piazza as kids coming up in the minors. They have power, and they have the ability to put the ball in play, too. They're not just slap hitters. So they're going to contribute for you in all the fantasy baseball hitter categories as opposed to simply helping your batting average.
Bob and Jonathan Benz here talking fantasy baseball, looking at catchers here on Spadora on Sports. Of course, you can check out my website and check out their blogs for all the updates and stuff like that. Where do we want to go next? Do you want to talk a little bit about well, I don't want to get into sleepers in the outfield because you know why? That's a nice long piece we can talk about. And I want to bring you right up to commercial. And Riley's telling me we got about 2 minutes left to go. We got anything else to add within the 2-minute period that we before we take a commercial break?
Well, this week we also released our top 75 starting pitchers. That actually went up here in the wee hours of the morning. That's the benefit for me of having very young children, is that I'm up when most everyone else is sleeping. So our top 75 starting pitchers were released fresh this morning. So if you go to fantasybaseballdugout.com, you'll be able to see our top 75 starting pitchers. Whether or not we are biased based on our geographic location, we have two Philadelphia Phillies at number 1 and number 2. So Roy Halladay is going to start off our rankings this year at number 1. Certainly that's deserved. I think since he's been traded to the National League East, I don't think there's been any question that he's been the elite pitcher in the National League, and certainly with National League pitchers, when you look at them, the fact that they don't have to face the designated hitter, a lot of times they log more strikeouts, and I think over the course of time, National League starting pitchers also have a lower earned run average, and he's playing for the Phillies, so the expectation is there for him to certainly have another 20-win season. So Halladay starts the year off at number 1. A little bit of a surprise. I think we're going to surprise some people with who we have at number 2, Cliff Lee from the Phillies as well.
Wow.
So, we're hoping, Cliff Lee had some spells here and there where he was unhittable and then he was human. And then he was unhittable and he was human throughout 2011. Hopefully in 2012, I think it's certainly our expectation that he's going to be more of the unhittable Cliff Lee without some of those hiccups spread out throughout the season.
Okay, guys, we're going to take a time out, pick a couple of commercials. We'll be back with you guys. I want to get into...
he was the minor league player of the year, and he's Mike Trout with the Los Angeles Angels. He hit .326 with 33 homers last year, so he can play. He's in a very crowded outfield, though, in Los Angeles with Vernon Wells, Peter Bourjos, and Torrey Hunter. And with the acquisition of Pujols, there may not be the first base and DH slot to put some guys in. So we're a little concerned that Trout isn't going to get as many at-bats as he would on any other team. But still, when you have the kind of talent that this guy has, he's our number 1 sleeper coming into the new year. Our number 2 sleeper is also a name of a guy who really needs no introduction. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated as a 16-year-old, and that's Bryce Harper of the Washington Nationals. He's been described as baseball's LeBron, if that's enough pressure to have on you. But he came up last year, single A and double A, played at Harrisburg and hit .297, 17 homers, 58 RBIs, 26 steals. I don't think he'll come out of the gate on the Nationals roster, but if you play in a keeper league, I predict he's going to be up with the Nationals in about June, and he will never see time of day again in the minor leagues. So if you play in a keeper league and you're satisfied to have him for half a year, he's a guy you'll have on your roster for many years to come.
You look at seeing him start in the AAA, so that'll be in Syracuse, New York, probably, huh? Yes.
So I see him up in Syracuse for a couple of months, and then coming up to the bigs in midsummer. Okay. Our third outfielder sleeper is another son of an ex-major leaguer. That's John Mayberry Jr. of the Phillies. He really has phenomenal power, big, strong guy. 15 homers, 49 RBIs, and 8 steals, 273 last year in just 267 at-bats. Clearly, he's the reason that the Phillies were able to let veteran Raul Ibanez go. He's going to play some first base early while Ryan Howard still recovers from his Achilles heel injury, but the left field job is his. He could be a 30-home run, 85, 90 RBI guy next year. Another interesting signing that happened this week is the Cuban defector Yoenis Cespedes, and he was signed by a very un-Moneyball-like move by Billy Beane to give him 4 years and $36 million. But remember that this guy's right at the peak of his career. He's 26. His agent was able to negotiate that his 5th year he doesn't have to go to arbitration, so he can be a free agent again when he's 30 years old. But this guy hit .458 in the World Baseball Classic. Last year in the Cuban League, in just 90 games, he hit 33 home runs. So this is a guy you really want to watch for the new year. Alex Presley of Pittsburgh is another guy we like. AAA last year, hit .333 and stole 22 bases. Another guy, big year in the minors last year. He's going to play first base for the Chicago Cubs this year, but he does qualify because he played 14 games last year as an outfielder, so he also qualifies as an outfielder, and that's something you want to look for when you do your fantasy baseball draft. That's Brian LaHare, and we're expecting a big year for him. Chris Heisey, the final guy I'll mention here, Cincinnati's outfielder, just 279 at-bats last year. He hit 18 homers and drove in 50 runs. The Reds did pick up veteran Ryan Ludwig to compete with him, but Heisey's clearly the better hitter, and he should earn that job.
Okay, quickly, what about the batting average per balls in play, John? How important is that, and how does it help you in fantasy baseball?
Well, it's actually, it's one of those statistics where if you take it's a sabermetric. So it's for people who like to analyze stats even more than Bob and I do. But,
oh God, are they out there?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they are. They are. But for if you take a look at BABIP, it's a way to evaluate players who have good speed, because it's a strong way to take a look at batting average and try to determine who some of the faster guys might be at getting on base and keeping the ball in play, which is obviously important for fantasy baseball success. Matt Kemp is was the leader in BABIP in 2011, and certainly he had an MVP caliber season. So it's a really cool statistic to take a look at least know who your leaders are as you're evaluating first-round talent and actually all the way down. The league average BABIP in 2011 was right around 300. So if your player has a BABIP, if you're comparing two players, and it really is in fantasy baseball for hitters all about the counting statistics, the home runs, the RBIs. If you're trying to evaluate these guys, BABIP is going to be effective at potentially picking one player versus another. So it's a stat that is a fringe stat. It's an interesting stat, but it definitely can help you make decisions come draft time when you're stuck between two or three players.
Okay, guys, always a great job. Of course, if you want to know more, you can check out their website at fantasybaseballdugout.com, and or you can go to my website, SpadoraOnSports.com, and check things out there. Hey, before I let you go, we're going to have it's possible to get two people into your fantasy baseball league playing. I know last year Shank represented our crew, our team. Didn't do so well. I don't even know if he ever made it out of the basement. Young Riley here is basically not afraid to toot his own horn a little bit, and I gather that he's kind of like a Bryce Harper, coming up, not going to be much time in the minors. He's coming to the big leagues. Any chance of getting him on with you guys too?
Oh, we'd love to have him, and in fact, we're going to be expanding our fantasy baseball leagues this year, and we're going to be offering prizes if you're able to beat the experts.
Oh, really? Well,
and the experts are Jonathan and I.
Yeah, well, these guys are numbers guys. They crunch numbers more than NASA does, so I'll just leave it like that. Yeah, let's talk off mic, and we'll get these two guys going into fantasy baseball. Hey, guys, always a great job. Check out their website. Check out